Once you've downloaded the PDF, you want to find the table of contents. At this point, you can click on Start to select the age range of the child. For the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to select 6 to 11 completed months. This is the assess phase. So during your assessment of health and nutrition status, you're going to always refer to your local protocols and use the existing tools. This decision tool is meant to supplement what is already in use. It's not meant to take the place of something else. So we're going to follow the local protocols and then answer the question, what is the status of the infant? Depending on the answer, you'll make the decision about what to do next. So if your option is complicated, severe, acute malnutrition and wasting, stop. Do not use this tool. Instead, follow national nutrition protocols and refer to the nearest hospital. If the infant has uncomplicated, severe acute malnutrition or moderate acute malnutrition wasting, use this tool. If there's no acute malnutrition or wasting, do not use this tool. Instead, just follow local nutrition protocols. So for this demonstration, we're going to say that we've selected this category, and we're going to click on the link for Assess Oral Structures. That takes us to instructions of how we can assess the oral structures for this age range. Step 1, we'll observe the infant during feeding or at rest. Look for weakness in the tongue, lips, or jaw muscles. Step 2, we'll observe the structure of the lips. What we're really looking for is any sort of hole or cleft. And then step 3, use a light to look inside of the mouth. Look for holes or clefts on the top or the roof of the mouth inside. Then you have some decisions to make. If there is no cleft, you can go to Analyze Functional Feeding Concerns and act. If there is a cleft, you can go directly to the action plan that's intended for children who have cleft lip or palate. Liquid comes out of nose. For this demonstration, we're going to go to the next step, which is Analyze Functional Feeding Concerns and act. Click on that link and it jumps to that section for this age range. So the next step is to ask the caregiver, what feeding concerns do you have? Depending on what the caregiver shares, you'll find the functional feeding description that matches the most closely. So for this demonstration, we're going to select not gaining weight. And then we're going to follow this feeding action plan to address not gaining weight. Number 1, we're going to follow breastfeeding strategies, and that includes trying different positions. Number 2, we're going to use strategies that encourage attachment, and that might be skin to skin, lip stimulation, or drip drop. And remember, we just have very simple descriptions and very simple pictures. The purpose of this tool isn't to require a lot more education. It's just to give some simple tips and tricks to help these really needy little ones who are being served in emergency contexts. Then step 3, for this age range, we want to make sure we've introduced complementary foods, and we're going to follow the UNICEF and WHO guidance, and that's provided right here for this age group. And then step 4, we're going to follow the strategies for safe feeding by matching the texture of the food to the skills of the child. And we're going to introduce the spoon. Here's a list of different skills that you might observe that are needed to match with this texture, a smooth texture. Here's the next progression of skills to observe to show that you're ready to progress to this texture. And then here's a list of skills that you can observe during this age range that allow you to progress to this type of texture food. Now, each of the foods should be available and relevant to the culture and context where you're working, but as closely as possible, you want their consistency to match. Baby Ubuntu Resources has given us a nice description of how to place the spoon, what to expect, what to see the child do, and the positioning. And then here's just some great reminders about we want to make sure the caregiver and the child practice good hand hygiene. We want to continue to breastfeed, and we want to support the infant on the lap while they're receiving spoon foods or solid foods, or in a specialized seating. And now we're ready to go to the next section. So this section allows us to appraise the response to feeding strategies. And what that means is we're just going to take stock and we're going to figure out if what we've tried has helped or not. So it's going to start with a question, did the feeding improve? Now this question might be asked maybe at the next growth monitoring or nutrition monitoring visit. It might be asked during counseling sessions. If you've had a chance to try some of the feeding sessions right now, in the moment, you can ask the question here, did feeding improve? And then if the answer is yes, you're going to continue to follow that action plan and move on to the next step. If the answer is no, you're going to have to refer back to those local protocols, especially if they have severe acute malnutrition and it's complicated. If the child falls into that medium category again, you may want to look back and decide, are we going to try this action plan for not gaining weight again? Or do we need to look at the action plan for coughing and choking? And so you can explore that if they belong to this category here. For this demonstration, we are going to say the child has improved, and we're going to move on to assign next steps. This section is really just intended to be a reminder for all of us of what a high priority malnourished children and children with feeding difficulties and children with disabilities are. And so there are some resources here that show us where we can get products or specific technologies that could be helpful. Maybe it's supportive seating, maybe it's modified cup, maybe it's something that helps with eating solids. And then most importantly, we really want to encourage coordinating with country officers to link these humanitarian efforts and move more towards development and away from just responsiveness. So really build on the resources that exist. And these resources are listed here. Engage with the community, take advantage of cash transfers if they're there, if there's food security measures, early childhood development, WASH, and psychosocial supports. And those supports are not just for the infants and children, but really for the caregivers as well.